Hi there, my name is Irene, and before we get started with today's video, I just wanted to point out the fact that I just got over 500 subscribers, which is insane. The fact that there's at least 500 people interested in watching my videos is really warming of the soul.
There are dozens of us. Dozens!
So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for subscribing, for commenting, for engaging. It's awesome. So for today's video and to celebrate this achievement, I'm going to be building this staircase. And it's going to be quite the challenge because you can see that there's a lot of the things that tend to cause issues when working with stairs in Revit. It's a curved stair. It has custom steps. It has custom railing that is like segmented. There's a lot of things here that can go wrong. So let's take a stab at it together. So let's get to it. All right, so as usual, I'm going to be starting in a project, and what I like to do is just create a basic stair that then I will start customizing to fit the particular needs of the design. So the starting difference here is that you can see that this is a curb staircase. So because of that, I'm going to go to the architecture tab, stairs. I'm going to start with assemble stairs. If you expand here the options, you're going to see that there's a couple of different options. The reason that I'm going with an assemble stair instead of a cast or precast is because here there is a assembly of riser and thread. And this is going to make it a little bit easier for us to customize our stair. For the width, I'm going to leave it 1000. I'm not truly concerned about the width of the stair, and I'm just going to leave it the 900 max riser. Normally, you want your stairs to go from level 1 to level 2, or whatever it is the level that you want them to go. So I'm going to leave it level 1 to level 2. That's fine. I'm not going to be messing up with any of these standard dimensions. You only really need to mess up with those if, for example, your stairs don't go to a second level, or you are working with some kind of like custom outside of like building code stairs. Now, what will be different this time is that instead of starting with my straight run, which is usually my go-to, I'm going to go instead with a either full step spiral or center and spiral. To be honest with you, I find that both of them kind of like get the job done the same for me. So either gets the job done. So I'm going to go just with my spiral stair here. Let's say, I don't know, let's say I'm going to make it something like this. Again, I'm not super concerned. Let's just mirror it so it matches the reference image a little bit more. So I'm just going to go here and flip it. There you go. This is what I want. Perfect. Here we go. Maybe I would want it to be a little bit wider, right? Yeah, let me do it a little bit wider. Like you can see that like the stair itself is pretty wide and also the steps are pretty wide. So let me redo that. Let's make the thread depth significantly deeper. So instead of 250, let's make it 350 maybe. And let's make also the width a little bit bigger. Let's make it 1200. Yeah, and again, I'm going to do the same thing and then I'm going to flip it. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go something like that. And then again, I'm just going to go here and flip it. So flipping basically just shifts who is up, who is down in stairs. I absolutely love that tool because my brain has a very hard time understanding directions. So I always make stairs in the wrong direction. So God bless this tool. All right, so here's my stair. This is what we're starting with. If you finish it, you're going to see that it also has a default handrail. I'm not concerned about that default handrail because again, we're basically going to be customizing everything. So I'm going to start with what I would consider the easier part, and you're going to see why I may choose to use that word in a second, which is going to be the assembly. So that is the portion of the thread slash riser. So I'm going to select my stairs. I'm going to go to edit type, and I am going to duplicate this. This is going to be my pink curve stair. Okay, and I'm going to start by working with the run type. So I'm going to go here. This is going to open a new window. Always duplicate. You do not want to mess up the originals. So this is going to be called just custom. And what I am going to do here is, number one, I do not want to have risers. So I'm going to turn this guy off and I'm going to say apply and I'm going to say okay and I'm going to say apply. And there you go. This is what we want. Okay, so this is already looking great. I think based on the image, I think that my threads need to be a little bit thicker. So I'm gonna come here, back to my stairs, back to my custom, and now I'm gonna come here and work with the thread and change the thickness. Let's try 100. I don't want it to be too, no, that's too much. 75 maybe? That's good enough. Now, if we look at the image really, really close, you will notice that the step has this kind of like little like ledge at the front. This is usually placed to kind of like make it harder for people to slip and fall on stairs. But here's the problem. If I change the default thread profile for any other custom profile that may have that ledge, you risk creating the issue of your stair not changing to adapt to the thickness. So what do I mean with that? Well, if we go here to the top view of my stairs, what you're going to notice is that the thread itself is not the same thickness at the beginning that it is at the end. It's actually wider at the end than it is at the beginning, and that is because it's a spiral stair, curved stair. So the problem is that if you use any custom profile for curved stairs, what you're going to get is gaps in between, because remember, the whole point of working with a profile is that it's the same shape extruded from beginning to end. So we cannot just use a regular custom profile for the thread. What we can do is use a custom nosing. So if we go back to our stair and we go to edit and we go to custom, you're going to see that under the thread, you have the option for a thread profile, but you also have the option for a nosing profile. And the difference is going to be that a nosing is just going to be a profile that gets attached at the front of the stair. So you do not need to kind of like modify the whole thing. So that's what we're going to be doing here. So I'm going to go to File and then New, and then I'm going to go Family, and I'm working here with metric, so I'm going to keep it consistent. Sometimes I work metric, sometimes I work imperial. That is the joy of working in Canada. So we're going to go, sorry, English. And for the profile, you're going to notice that when you go to profiles, there's a couple of custom options. So you have mullion profiles, rails, reveals, and we have stair nosing. So that's the one that we're going to choose here. If you do not see the kind of profile that you want to create, then you can just go with a basic matrix profile, and then you can assign where that profile is supposed to go. So we're going to go here, open. And I did something similar to this for another stair, and I already forgot the arrangement. Again, I have a very hard time locating things spatially. Great mental condition for somebody who works in design. But basically, I have a hard time understanding like where things will be placed when I draw them. So this is supposed to be the thread surface. So that corresponds for this line here. So that means that my step is going to be somewhere here. Draw profile in this quadrant, and this is my riser face. So my understanding is that I need to draw my nosing element detail here. So that's what I'm going to do. And then we will load it and we will see what's going to happen. No promises. So the important thing here is that this nosing profile is not going to be parametric. So I need to make sure that I draw it the same thickness of my step, of my thread. So I'm going to start with a rectangle that is going to be any dimensions, because what I'm going to do is that I'm immediately going to select this bottom line here, and I'm going to change it to make sure that it matches the thickness of my thread, which was 75. Okay, now how deep my thread needs to be is going to be basically however much I need to accomplish the detail. So in the image, you can see that there's a little bit of like normal step, and then comes that little metal profile. So I'm going to try to mimic that by giving it a little bit of a gap. The gap seems to be certainly less than the thickness of the step. So let's say that we're going to give it maybe like 25. Yeah. And then this guy doesn't go up a lot, because otherwise it would be in and on itself a tripping hazard. So let's make it just 10 by 10, something like that. So then I'm going to go SL to split. That's this tool over here, and it basically allows you to take one line and cut it into two. Oops, I didn't want it to create a dimension. And I'm going to use the trim tool, TR quick key, it's this guy over here, to connect those lines. So this is basically my profile. And this part here, I can literally bring it to the edge if I want to. Now here it's going to give me an error message, and that is because it's basically collapsing that line that we had over there, which is fine. We're just going to say yes, delete. And for triple certainty, another thing that I like to avoid when I'm doing profiles is this, where you have one line and then you have another line that goes on in the same direction. Sometimes this can cause issues. So I usually like to have single segments. So like the only time that you create a new line is if you're going in a different direction. So this is my profile. I'm going to save it. So I'm going to go File, Save As, Family, and this says I'm going to put it on my desktop, and this is going to be custom nose. Beautiful. All right, okay, so now we're gonna load it into the project and we're gonna select our stairs and let me zoom in so we can see it in all its glory when it happens. We're gonna go to edit type, we're gonna go to our custom, and now here for my nosing, I'm gonna change the profile for my custom nose. So we're gonna apply. Oh, God dang it, I think it's looking in the wrong direction. Yep, so I did it right. I just put it in the wrong direction. Again, this is just my life. So we're gonna come back to the family and I'm just gonna flip it. So I'm gonna go here and I wonder if I should make it like to the other, no, it's right on the edge. So, okay, let me just flip it. So I'm gonna go here, pick this guy, make sure that copy is off and flip it. I think that should be correct. Let's save and load. And then I'm gonna have to override. Yes, awesome. See, so now we have this little guy here. Beautiful, fantastic. All right, so that is part one. We're doing great. Now, part two, what I want to do now is I want to change my stringers because basically you can see that in the reference drawing, they are quite chunky. And I want to change them to make sure that they are too quite chunky. So for that, what I'm going to do is select my stairs again. I'm going to go to edit type, and you can see that I have two stringers. I have for the left side and you have for the right side. And as you can see here, you're also working with kind of like a type, so to speak, stringer 50 mil width. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open this type properties once again. I'm going to duplicate. This guy's also going to be custom. Everybody's custom today. And I'm just going to change the width. Now the width for this guy is going to be based on what I see. Again, I don't have dimensions of the stair, so I have to kind of like yay it. Let's try 100 and see. I think it might be like 150, but let's give it a try. Kind of skinny. Yeah, let's go with maybe 200. Maybe we want it to be like pretty girthy. Apply. Yeah, 200 is going to be the one. Okay, so we're going to change this guy to also be the custom. I don't need to create a new stringer because my left and my right stringer are the same type. I just need to tell Revit to do that. Okay, great. We're doing fantastic. So this is the easy part. Now we're going to get into the real fun, which is going to be the railing. So the first thing that we need to address is the fact that my rails are in the wrong place. They are attached to the run, and I need them to be attached to the stringer. So to do that, there's a couple of things that I can do. One is I can edit the path and I can just kind of like manually move them. Or I'm going to delete this guy, I'm going to delete this guy, and I'm just going to place my railing anew. So I'm going to place on stair ramp, but the advantage here is that, see, you can choose if you want it to be on the threads or on the stringers, and I want it to be on the stringers. Now, for the type of railing, it doesn't really matter. I know that there's one with glass here, but you don't really need it because we're going to be creating all of our railings. I'm going to choose this 900 just because it has the height that I want, and I'm just going to click on my stairs. Bam. So there you go. See the difference? Now the railing is in the correct place. So what I want to do here is I want to start with my rails. You can see that the rail has two parts. It has a glass portion and then it has a, what's the word, a pipe portion. So I'm going to be working with both of them. And you're going to see this is going to get a little bit spicy. So first, I just want to make sure that I nail the form. That means that the glass and the rail itself are actually offsetted. The glass is a little bit taller and the rail has that nice little like curvature at the end. So let's see how we're going to do that. I'm actually going to choose this one. It's a little bit more visible. Okay, so I'm going to select my railing. I'm going to go to edit type and I'm going to start by duplicating because of course, I'm going to start by duplicating. Now, when you're working with railings and you want to customize them, basically what you need to understand is that your railings are divided into two parts. You have horizontal elements, which are going to be your rails and your handrail or your top rail, and you have your vertical elements, and that is going to be your post, your balusters. So when you're working with them, for Revit, the most important thing is going to be the top rail / handrail, because that is like you always need to have one of those. Otherwise, like there is no railing. Like you don't want to have a railing that is just, I don't know, bars that you're grabbing. You could, but like I'm not sure if you're going to get like insurance under those conditions. So if I want to have that pipe railing, that's going to be this guy over here. See, if I come and I uncheck this guy and I say apply, and I say, okay, oh God, everything is going to disappear. And you're going to see why in a second. So what's happening here, the railing is still there. The problem is, let me see if I can go back. No, I'm going to have to undo. The problem is, there you go. Let me come back here. That the rules, the instructions that I have created for my custom railing, oh, I need to duplicate it again. This is going to be my custom. The main issue here is that if we go to the instructions for my balusters, you're going to see that all of my balusters are instructed to connect to the top rail. So if my stair rail is made out of a single top rail and a bunch of balusters that go to that top rail, and I delete the top rail, the balusters have nowhere to go and the whole thing collapses. So this is just to warn you as to like, you kind of want to be careful a little bit because sometimes one of these changes can break things a little bit. So what I'm going to do here is I'm not going to get rid of this. Let's start there. But I do want to change because I want to have a different shape. I do not want it to be rectangular. So we're going to click here, and you have a few railing options already set up by Revit. You have a circular 40 millimeters. I think that's going to be a little bit too thin for my taste. So let me test it out. We're going to go apply. Yeah, I want it to be a little bit thicker. So we're going to go back to our railing and we're going to duplicate it and we're just going to make it 50. I think that should be enough. Now see, you have a profile again, and I can come here and either select a different profile or I can customize a profile. Now you're going to notice here that I just get a list. I don't get any option to override or change. This is something that is going to happen quite commonly with things like, for example, rails. It can also happen with balusters, which is that the geometry is driven by a profile, but you're not really given here the option to change that profile. So if that happens to you, what we need to do is we need to go hunting for this profile. So I'm going to memorize this name, M circular handrail 40. I'm very likely to forget it as soon as we're done here. But what we need to do is close our railing for the time being, and we're going to go into the project browser. And you're going to see that here at the bottom, we have this family section. And if you expand on it, this is basically a library of any and all families that are loaded into this project. So this is where we're going to find our profile. Now, because it's let me move my head out of the way. Thank you very much. It's going to be under profiles because it is just a profile. We're not talking about the handrail right now. We're just talking about the profile. So under profile, see, there's my custom nose. Hello. And we're going to search for my circular, was it this guy? Circular handrail? Yeah, see? So M, circular handrail, we have 30, we have 40, and now we're going to create a new one, which is going to be 50. So the way that you can do this is double click on the on the type, and that's going to open this, and see, here we have the dimensions. So I'm going to duplicate, I'm going to create a new one that is going to be 50 mil, and I'm going to change the diameter. As simple as that. So I'm going to go apply, okay. See, now we have a new profile type. So I'm going to go back to my rail, edit type, go to my circular 50, and I'm going to replace this profile with my new profile. I'm going to go apply, I'm going to go okay, I'm going to go apply, and yeah, it looks just right. So up next, we're going to go back into the profile because there's a few more things that I want to do. So the first thing that I want to do is change, I think it's this, yes, change here the default join. So the default join is basically what's going to happen whenever your rail makes a curve. So by default, it's a mitered connection join, sorry, which means that it's straight. But I can change it to fillet, which is going to give us that nice rounding. So I'm going to switch it to fillet. And when I do that, I get to decide the radius of the fillet. So it doesn't look like a really big radius. So I'm going to make it 100 for the time being. We're not really going to see it right now. I'm going to actually show you if I go here, apply OK. We're not really going to see it because we don't have any corners in our rail. So like there's nothing there. So we're going to see it when we start customizing our railing. But for now, I'm going to leave it just so we know it's there. The other thing that I may want to do, let me go here, is I want to see hand clearance. Hand clearance is going to be like away from the wall. What I want to do here is see if I can give it an offset, because basically if you look at the image, basically what you can see is that the railing is not necessarily centered because you have the glass panel and then you have the handrail itself. So I think that might be the hand clearance portion. Let me switch it to 0 and see. No, that's not what I want to do. Hand clearance is from the bottom up. So you know what? We're going to do it a different way. What I can do, and I'm going to show you here for reference, is when you're selecting the railing, you're going to see here on the instance properties that you have an offset from path. So this basically means if I go to a top view that it's finding my path. Remember this thread, this stringer here was 200, and the instructions for railings is that by default it's going to find the middle of that element and place it there. So that's why it's doing -100. So the thing is that if I bring this to 0, go, go, go. There you go. See, it's going to move it right on the like beginning of my stringer. Now, that's not what I want. That's a little bit aggressive. So let's say that instead of -100, we're going to give it -50, let's say. Okay, that's a little bit better. Let's try -75. Perfection. Okay, great. So now we know what we need to do. So what I want to do next is I want to work with the balusters, aka I want to get rid of them. So to do that, we're going to go back to our railing, and we're going to go to baluster placement. And basically, you just want to tell Revit that you do not want to work with balusters. So to do that, we are going to uncheck this. So basically, when you're thinking about your balusters, your vertical elements, you have to think about them into two broad categories. So the number one is kind of like the important points of the stairs. So that's going to be these three guys here. So this is what you're going to have at the beginning of the stair, what you're going to have at the end of the stair, and what you're going to have anytime that the stair kind of like changes direction. So for example, if you have a corner or you have a landing or something like that. And then you have everybody else, because you can have a railing where you have different kinds of balusters interconnected, like all kind of like assembled together. So that's why you can see that you have this element and then you have this element here. Okay, so I'm going to come here and I'm going to say that I just basically want none of it. So all of these guys are going to switch to none, none, none. Use balusters per thread. That's great. None, none, none. Okay, perfect. And if I go apply and I go okay and I go apply, this is exactly what I want. The easier solution here is going to be the following. I'm actually going to come back to my rail, and I'm going to say that I don't want to have another rail structure. I'm going to delete this guy, and I'm going to go apply, and I'm going to go okay, and I'm going to apply. So one of the things that we can do is we can make that glass element to be, instead a part of the railing, we can make it be a part of the stringer. So what I can do here is I'm going to come and I'm going to select my stringer. And if I go here to edit type and I go here, if you remember, we created our custom profile that had these like custom dimensions. So basically what I can do is I can create a custom profile with a custom shape that will have both the base and the glass element. So what I want to do here is pick up two dimensions. I want the width and I want the depth, which is basically like the height. Total depth. Yes. So it is 200 width by 400 depth. So I'm going to go here, okay. I'm going to go here, okay, okay. And we're going to go to File, New, Family. And this time we're going to be creating another profile, but this profile is going to be for the stringer. Now, if I remember correctly, the stringer does not have a custom profile. Rebar, railing, railing support. Railing support, metric railing support. Yes, no, it would be stair support. So let's just go with profile, and we're going to go okay. So this is just going to be a metric profile. And what you can do is you can come here and on the profile usage, you can set up what is actually supposed to be. Now, in this case, a stringer is a stair support. So not railing support. Railing support is usually when you have like a little like bracket that attaches the rail to the wall. This is for the stair. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move this guy here first because I'm starting to get really confused. There you go. And I am going to just draw a profile that is going to contain both the base and the glass element. So we said that the base was 400 by 200. So I'm just going to draw a big rectangle here. And again, I can always customize the size. So we said 200 by 400. I'm going to make it centered. Let's say we're going to go MV, and I'm going to move it right there. Okay, and I'm going to make another rectangle that is going to be my glass element. And this guy, we said that we wanted it to be 20 mil. Why are you like this? There you go, 20 mil. And the height it's going to be pretty high. It's going to be, we said 1200. Okay, so we're going to select this element. And remember, we don't want it to be exactly centered because we have our little offset between the glass and the handrail. And I'm going to put this guy, let's say I'm going to start it here, and then I'm going to MV. How much do I want to move it? Somewhere like that. So let's go 50. Yes. Yes. Awesome. Now, Very important. Remember, this is a profile. So you cannot have this like this here. This is bad. This is an intersection. So first of all, I need to get rid of this line here. And second of all, I need to break this line and use my trim tool. So SL, split, and then TR, trim, 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 trim. Beautiful. Awesome. So I'm going to go and I'm going to save this guy as, and we're going to put it on the desktop. And this is going to be my custom stringer. Come on. All right. Perfect. So I'm going to load it into my project. And now what I'm going to do is select the stair, not the handrail, because it's no longer a part of the railing. It's now going to be a part of the stair. And I'm going to come here and on my runners, I'm going to replace this custom for my new railing profile, which is going to be, I'm going to switch this to custom stringer. Beautiful. So I'm going to go apply and I'm going to go okay. Ooh, and you can already see, oh crap, I think it's like, of course it's flipped because of course I would mess it up. Okay, I need to mirror it. One of these days I will do things in the right direction on the first try. One of these days. No copy. Okay, and then save, and then load, and then project, override. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, just so I get a better vision, I'm going to replace this guy with my new custom. There you go. These guys are a little bit, oh yeah, this guy's close. So let's say that it's going to be -50. I want it to be a little bit further away. And then this is also going to be -50. Okay, we're starting to take shape. What I really like about this technique is that then you have this really nice clean end. But then that leads me to the next thing, which is that if you look at the reference image, you're going to notice that, first of all, the handrail goes kind of like down. So it's not just kind of like this, it also goes down. And that's where we see that nice little rounding. But secondly, it's not a single rail. It's like it's a bunch of little rails. So this is where we're going to spend the day. So because we're basically going to have to create the railing, the custom railing, and then we're going to have to create a whole new custom rail for the termination, because you can see that the termination has this like kind of like swoop that comes out and it turns, and you have the handrail and you have the glass and you have the stringer. All of them are kind of like following that curve, and we cannot create a custom stringer path. Like if I select my stringer, see, like even if I select, like if I select my stairs and I go to edit stairs and I select just the stringer, you're going to see that there's no option for me to like edit the path of that stringer. There is only an option to, you know, flip it or like redraw it or whatnot, because the idea is that your stringer always follows your stairs. So we're going to need to create an entire new railing that is just going to be kind of like a straight railing to continue from this element here. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's finish the railing that is on the stairs. Voiceover Irene, you know that things are desperate when I have to do this. So basically what you're going to see me do here, which took me like an hour, is try to create an extension for the railing that makes it go down and has that curve, that fillet element that we really like in the reference image. But the thing is that in Revit, there's a couple things that you have to keep in mind with top rails. Number one, the length of your top rail is defined by the railing system. You cannot shorten it, but you can extend it. Now, you can extend it manually, which is what I'm trying to initially do, or you can, what I'm doing here, you can set up a set of instructions to automatically extend it at the beginning and the end. Now, these options are a little bit limited and they will still require some editing. So what you're seeing here is that I figured out that I can have that extension in curvature. Keep in mind, again, if you are going to be doing the extension, you're going to have to shorten the path of your rail to make sure that it still starts where you want it to start. The other thing to keep in mind is that when you use this method, you're going to have to manually adjust the length of that extension, because again, when you set it to go to the floor, what it's going to do is not stop at the stringer, it's going to go all the way down to the floor of the level. So you're going to have to manually edit the path of the top rail, and then you're going to have to also manually edit the length of the extension that goes to the floor. So yeah, that took me 1 hour of brute forcing. Aha, I am very smart. This is what we're gonna do. God, these stairs are beautiful, but they're gonna kill me. So step one, we are going to bring back our fillet. I do not want to have to do this fillet manually. I will die. Step two, we are going to be using the extensions. So I can either use the post or I can use the floor. So I'm going to make both of them floor. So I'm going to say yes. I'm going to leave it to that 100. We're going to apply here. Okay, fantastic. What we're going to do here, and this is going to be, again, added to the tedium. We're going to select tab. So again, we're working with the top rail. we're going to edit the path of that top rail. And because this is an addition, I can simply select it and bring it up. Is this tedious? Yes. Will you go insane? I already have. But you know what? These are the things we do for love. So what I'm going to do now, I am going to stop talking. I'm going to speed up over the process, and I'm going to do this insanity through the rest of the staircase. So wish me luck, and I will see you when I'm done. Cheers. And we did it, team. Jesus Christ. My lifespan has been shortened. So we are so close to be done. I can taste it. The end is nigh. Now, I'm going to do a couple modifications, and then we're going to do that kind of like end that we see in the reference picture where it protrudes a little bit and it turns around. So the first thing is that in the reference image, it shows that on the right side, the railing actually protrudes more. So we are going to go and do exactly the same thing that we've done up to this point. We are just going to select the railing itself, go to edit the path. We're going to select this line, and we're actually going to make it go a little bit beyond. And what that is going to do is, like you can see here, is just protruding the rail. Or the other way that we could do it, actually, because I can see that it's deforming the direction a little bit. So the other way that we can do this, that may actually be easier, is to select the railing itself, the top rail, edit the rail itself, and then what we can do is just edit the path, select this line, and just kind of like project it a little bit more. Exactly, something like this. Beautiful. Awesome. Okay, so that's step one. And then I want to do that ending where it comes out and then it turns a bit. So the thing here is that I cannot use the stringer because you can see that you have like that base, you have the glass, and then you have the rail. And I cannot use those elements here because you can basically see that like a stringer is attached to the stairs. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to make a second type of custom railing in which you will have like that profile is going to be a basically a rail element and then your handrail. So we're going to basically build two different elements with different behaviors. This second railing is going to contain a stringer element, it's going to contain the glass element, and it's going to contain the handrail itself. So to do this, what I'm going to do is I can start with this railing just to save me some time. I'm going to go to edit type and I'm going to duplicate. I'm just going to leave it custom 2. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, okay, for a second, this guy needs to still be custom 1. Yes. Because what I want to do here is I basically want to create another version of this stringer, but in this one I want to have just this height, and you can see that it's not the full 400. I think this is just 200. So I'm going to go back to that profile that I created what feels like 1,000 years ago, and I'm just going to change this height here. I'm going to select all of these lines, and I'm going to go MV, and I'm going to move them down 200 millimeters. Yeah, I think that's fine. We're going to go File, we're going to go Save As, we're going to save it as a family, and this is going to be my custom stringer 2. Okay, so I am going to, oh, very important. I almost missed that detail. This is right now a stair support. I want this to be a railing. So I'm going to come here and switch it to railing. Very, very important. So after I've done that, I'm going to load it into my project, to my Pink Stairs of Doom. Perfect name for this project. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create and place my new railing. Now, the reason that I'm doing this is because this portion of the rail is straight. It's not curved. It's not sloped. So it's a little bit easier to create a more custom railing. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to sketch my railing here. And I'm going to choose my custom 2. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have to play with this a little bit because I'm not entirely sure like where my beginning, like where is it going to place it. But I'm going to pick it up from here. And then again, I can always change it if that's not the direction that I wanted it to go. So let's say we're going to project it up to that point, and then we're going to make it do an arc. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go from here to, let's say, here. And then I'm going to make it a nice curve, and then I'm going to make it straight again. And then it's just going to go a little bit straight, something like that. Let's say, and we're going to say yes. Okay, so again, we're going to need to do some modifications. Worry not. I just wanted to see that it is created. Specify rail, please try a different value. That's fine. So basically what I wanted to see is like how much offset, because I need to align these two guys, but we're going to work with this because what I want to do right now is I want to go to edit type and I'm going to add a new rail structure. So I'm going to insert a new one, and this new rail is going to have the profile that I just created, my custom stringer 2. So I'm going to go here, apply. Cannot create, please try a different value. Why not? Is it because of the height? No, height is fine. So this is what I want to check. Basically, like, where is it going to place it? So the first thing that I can see is that, see, like, whatever I click, it's kind of like centering it. So I can see a couple of issues here. Number one is that I basically want this to be flipped. So to make my life a little bit easier, because it's already hard enough, I'm just going to mirror this guy again. And nobody got time to figure out the semantics. So I'm just going to flip it. I'm going to save, and I'm going to load it into my project. And this should flip the direction of the glass, override. That's okay. And now what we need to do is basically change that pickup point so it is centered with the stringer. So basically our stringer is going to be the center for this rail. I could use an offset. So for example, if I give it here an offset of 100, let's say, okay, oh no, minus 100, sorry. There we go. Okay, this is looking good. I'm glad, I'm liking it. The height seems a little bit incorrect. I think it needs to be maybe 100 millimeters higher. Let's see. Let's take this little guy here and let's go MV. Let's give it 100 millimeters. There we go. We're going to save. We're going to load. A little bit of finagling is required. Override. There we go. Perfection. Now, I want this height to also, of the rail itself, to be higher. Like you can see that there's a significant drop here. So I'm going to come and I'm going to say that this railing, this is my custom 2. This one is going to be not 900, but 1,000 higher. Yeah, that's much better. I could make it a little bit higher, but I don't want it to be too high. Now, I want to make sure that it is working with the same railing that has the fillet and has all the other things that we have done. And then to finish it up, I just need to edit this rail the same way that I did with the other. Oh, no. Because this is driven, give me a sec. What we're going to do here, let's see, if I edit my rail itself, can I just edit the offset of the rail? No. So we're going to use the rail for the offset of this whole thing. So this guy aligns with this guy. So I think it's supposed to be minus 50. I actually want this guy to be shorter. So what we're going to do here is the following. Step 1, I'm going to go here and I'm going to get rid of the top rail. We're going to apply in this. So we have a rail that is just a stringer, basically. Step 2, I'm going to go back to my old and loved, just the railer, custom rail number 1. I'm going to sketch it. Workplace. Oh, yes. Let's work on the floor plan, sketch path. And I'm going to just choose this guy, custom, and I'm going to pick my lines to be this guy, and this guy. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move them in a little bit. There we go. I think it already has the offset. If not, I can just give it to the railing here. And I think we said it was like minus 50. Okay. Oops, 50. Okay. Yes. All right. We're going to come here, edit path, make it significantly shorter. I think I want it to be shorter here as well. Almost there. Edit. Just a little bit shorter. There we go. This is exactly what we want. Last thing that we're going to do, we are going to select this guy. We're going to go edit type, and we're going to create a second one because, see, we need to modify the height. So this is going to be custom 3, as many as we need. God, these stairs. We're gonna go apply. Let me check. I'm not sure why it's giving me that error, but again, it might be a problem of the height or the curvature or a mix of both. So I'm gonna go okay. I may need to give more. Yeah, see, that side is fine, but this guy here is having a little bit of trouble. I'm not sure why, but I might be able to fix it just by changing the either the path of the railing itself. Let's see. So if I select just the top rail and edit the rail path, no, these guys are touching, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure why it doesn't want to do what it's supposed to do. I'll figure that one out later. I don't want this video to take 10,000 years. I might just redraw it and then that will fix it. I just want this guy to be a little bit higher. Let's say 100, apply, okay. It's not the height, that's definitely not the problem. But we have basically our very extremely custom stair that almost cost me my life. And now to finish up, I want to address one final thing, which is the materials, because so far I have not really been concerned with applying materials to any of these elements. And the thing is that in Revit, the way that we apply materials is very different if you're working with profiles or if you're working with like actual objects. So if I come here and I change this guy to realistic, there's going to be a couple different ways to apply materials. So I'm going to start with the easier elements. So for example, for my steps, I can basically go select my stair. I can go to edit type. And when you go to edit your run, you're going to see that basically any material, any geometry that is available, you can assign a material for. So because I have threads, I can assign a material to the threads. So let's get some materials to our project. So the threads seem to be a kind of pink terrazzo. So what I'm going to do is go here where it says by category, and I'm just going to click on the dots, and I'm going to create a new material. If you know me, you know that I usually do not work with Revit materials. I instead create my own. It's just easier, to be honest. And we are going to select, I think it's this guy here. Yes. I'm going to make it just no, that should be fine. Again, I'm not super concerned with the materials being like hyper realistic. I just want to see some materials. And what you're going to see is that when I change that, now my steps are a lovely pink color. Now for the stringers, they're also a part of the stairs. So changing the materials of the stringers is going to be within the type. So when I go here, you can see that my stringer also has a material. Now this one is just like a white color. So I'm just going to create another material. And this material is just going to be white. I'm not overcomplicating it. We're going to say yes. And I'm going to say apply. And I'm going to say okay. And I'm going to say apply. And I'm going to say okay. Now, you may panic here for a second because you may notice that it's painting also the glass panels. Do not panic, we will fix this. So I'm going to do that with both of them because it looks like, oh, no, I think this is, why is this? No, that's fine. Left support type, yes. You are supposed to also be that white material that I just created. Okay, and apply. And okay, and apply, and okay. All right, now we are going to start working with our railing. For the railing, if I go here on the type, you will see that there is also a material for it. Now, this material looks like a powder-coated metal, so I'm just going to make a solid pink color for the time being. I don't want it to be too aggressively pink. I want it to very closely resemble the stringer itself, so something like that, a little bit more reddish. Yeah, that seems to look accurate, okay? I should be naming these materials. I am not because I'm lazy. So please do as I say, not as I do. And then finally, we're going to select this guy and we're going to give it the same material as the other guy. So if we go here, we're going to give it that same white material. And now this is the part where we are going to fix the issues. Because again, what you can see here is that my glass is not glass. My glass is the same material as the stringer. But one thing that you can do in Revit is you can basically override the geometry materials with a painted material. So you can find that under modify, and it's going to be this guy here, Quickie PT. So PT for paint. And I'm just going to choose the default glass that comes with Revit. And then what you're going to want to do, and you want to be careful about this, you want to make sure that you're painting the glass on both sides. So on this side, and then you have to turn around because remember, it's like two sides for your glass panel. And there you go. And there we go. And when you finish, you will have something a little bit like this. Jesus Christ. This there almost killed me, but look at her. She's so beautiful. I could cry. Anyway, So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it interesting, and I'm gonna go have a drink. But thank you very much for 500 subscribers. Here's to another 500. Please like, please comment, please subscribe. If you have any questions, add it in the comments. If you want me to build something specific, add it on the comments, and I will put it on my to-do list. But otherwise, as usual, thank you very much for joining in. Thank you very much for sticking through, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.